you can follow along to demonstrate here, and then on your own practice time, you can simulate what we did here.
Okay.
Okay. But we are going to work on a new project to illustrate the object-oriented programming. So, how familiar are you with OOP?
With OOP,
OOP, yes.
not too familiar.
Okay. Because a lot of things like distinguishing between a field, like there were some questions regarding a field.
All field or local variable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then an object, and then knowing the scope. We're going to dive deep into all that. But for our warm-up, let's do our radio button here. So I'm going to put this on the form itself. Let me create a few copies. And then let's see the behavior. Let's see the behavior. So if I click 2 and I click 3, oh, it's still one thing. So regardless of where they are, now notice since they're in the form itself, they take the form as the group. They're all parts of. Notice they're separate from these ones. Yeah, bo? Those are in a separate group in and of themselves. Yeah, bo?
Yeah.
And in programming, you usually call that scope. Have you heard of scope? Okay, I can illustrate scope kanje. Let me show you kanje. So that's your test. I'm gonna show you an example of scope. Yeah, bo? So you saw in our form you had E group kanje. Let's say your sport. Ne? And any element inside this sports group, because you can see it's a group thing here. Yeah, well, it's a component, it's a group box. You can even tell by the component name. You can see over here on the tools. If I were to view the toolbox, you'd add a group. Oh, I cannot search while it's running. Let me actually show you like this. A group box. So it gives you something like this. Yeah, bo? It gives you something like this. And you can let me know if I'm moving too fast. I want to make sure you grasp. Yeah, so anything that I put inside this group box is going to be scoped to it. It's going to belong to it. Right? With respect to the components. So if I were to do this, I'm going to put these two buttons over here. Yeah, and you can sort of predictably behave. Can you predict what's going to happen? Are these three radio buttons going to be linked now?
No.
But these two are, you see. That one is independent. It's scoped to the form itself.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, so scoping has to do with ama components akho uwagroupa kanjani. And it also applies to ama variables when you look into code. Yeah, so you can sort of make a note for yourself. Which is scope? What does it actually mean? Maskulumang scope. Yeah, what do you think scoping is now that you've seen a demonstration? And we can have another group here. Let's say snacks. We had a checkbox, right? Or maybe we can have a radio button and maybe another radio button outside. Kanji. So it's similar. So called. That's case. Okay, so imagine, that's my coco. So you can imagine that this outer form is the outermost scope. Yeah, well? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And then this group box is a scope within the other scope. Yeah, well?
Okay.
So start to see scope in that sense, and it also applies to code as well. Right? So now, I think it would be a good time for you to open up a new project. We're going to be diving into object-oriented programming, the basics, the fundamentals, so that you understand scoping, you understand what a field variable is, right? So that you can also look at your code so that you can also look at your code and see what's okay. This is actually a class, yeah, this form that you're working on is actually a class, and it has a scope. This whole entire logic here, it's scoped to that class,
Okay.
yeah, but we're gonna illustrate an example. If you were to open Visual Studio, we're gonna code up something simple. Do you have it open?
Yeah, it's open.
Okay. So we're gonna create a few classes here. On your form, you can click anywhere on your form, and then underneath the form itself, we're gonna create a new class. We're gonna say class, and then we can call it, let's call it library. Right? We're gonna create a simple library class. And maybe you can tell me if you want to code along, and then I'll give you some time to code up the classes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So a library, let's say it has a book, a list of books, right? And let's say, imagine you have a library. Let's actually sketch this out so that we solidify this. And I'd also like you to work on paper to actually sketch out these ideas, right? So imagine that I have a library, right? And this library has a few shelves, right? So this is a shelf. We can say shelf 1, shelf 2, right? And on the shelves you have books. Do you get the idea that we're trying to build here?
Yeah.
So how would we actually build this in code, right? So let's actually illustrate an example. We're gonna need 3 things, right? You have to see the whole entire system in terms of its components. So what do you think are the 3 components that we're gonna have? Our 3 classes over here.
We're gonna have library, shelf 1, and shelf 2.
Okay, that's close, not quite, right? Not quite. When I say class, right, it's a representation of what my whole system is made up of. For example, I can have the library class. It represents an abstract notion of a library. Picture the concept of a library. And then when I say UKZN, Westville, library, that's one particular instance of a library. There's also PMB library. Do you sort of get the idea, the distinction between the class and the objects? These are the objects.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So a class it's a picture is it as an abstraction. It represents what a library is, right? And then the objects are the actual instances. For example, the library at UKZN, Westfield, and the library at PMB. They are 2 separate objects, but they are the same. They're the same class. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so in our code over here, okay, before we go to code, what are the 3 classes that we might have in this case? Notice that this is also a book. So we have a library with shelves and a book. What are the classes that we can create from there?
Okay, so we have the library class,
Sure.
and then we have the shelf,
Sure.
and then we have the book classes.
We're gonna have the book class. So the library, the shelf, and then the book class, right? And then you'll see Uguti, the library has actually 2 shelf objects, right? You have this shelf, shelf 1, and then shelf 2. But let's first create the classes. So in our code, we're gonna actually create representations, right? You're gonna have class, you're gonna say shelf, because it represents a shelf. right? And then you're gonna have class book, right? And then now you'll notice that we're missing some information about the classes, right? We don't know what information these classes have. Now let's say we mentioned that the library over here, we have a name for the library. We'd like to have a name for the library, right? So when we create an object, we would want to know, okay, which library is it? We want to have some extra information about the library. So in that sense, we refer to that as having fields. Your class has fields. These are attributes that belong to your class. Does that make sense? For example, I can have a public string, let's say name. Are you familiar with what these over here mean? What I've highlighted over there?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a simple string. It's the name of the library. We call this a field, right? It's an attribute of the library. It tells me more information about the library, right? And to keep it simple, I'm just gonna keep the name, and then the shelf. We had the shelf 1, shelf 2. So we have the. What do you think an appropriate field would be in this case?
4.
In the shelf, so you can see we have shelf 1, shelf 2. We can have shelf 3, 4, 5, 6. What do you think an appropriate field would be for the shelf class?
Management books.
Management
Books.
Management books. Okay, what information would that contain? Or you're sort of you wanna give it a name.
Okay. Maybe string.
Okay, let's try string
management.
Okay, what would this try to contain? What information would this contain? With respect to the shelf itself. Ukhumbule, you get to decide how you define among classes. Yabo? Let me create an example now. So for this library class, we decided the library needs to have a name, right?
Yeah.
I'm not specifically defining a fixed name, but I'm saying I'm having a name field open so that when I create an object, right, I can set the name of that object. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Lana, you want to abstract this away. You wanted to have a management books shelf, right?
Yeah.
So instead of just saying management here, you can decide what information does this try to contain. What information am I trying to store?
Okay.
So instead of storing management, what would you think would we store?
We just store. Okay, it can't be genre. Would it be genre?
No, there's no right or wrong. Let's explore.
Faculty. We'll say faculty.
Or faculty, okay?
Yeah, faculty.
We can say faculty, right? Or maybe we can say books faculty. So that we know, Guti, instead of saying management books, we want to store information about the books. So if you put it in a sense of we want to store information about the books that the shelf contains, does that sound more?
Yeah.
It sounds better, right? Because here I can have management. I can create one object, be management, another object be maybe finance, right?
Yeah.
Another object I have logistics, right? And then the book, let's say for now we're gonna keep it simple. We're gonna have a public string, because every book has an ISBN number, right?
Yeah.
So get set, and then maybe a name, string name. Now notice this is not telling me any information about a particular book. At this point, you don't have information about a particular book. You're working at the class level, right?
Yeah.
You'll see when you proceed to create a book, you'll notice ukuthi you're going to have to give it an ISBN number and a name. That's going to be one object. Another, let's say a mathematics book, right? And then you have a calculus book. Those are two different books, right? They're of the same class. They're of the book class.
So would the ISBN and the name be a local variable?
No, these are actually, we mentioned that these are field variables. Let me actually use a tool over here. These are actually field variables. They belong to the class itself. They tell you information about the class. So you can take a note there. And also remember, this recording is going to be available for you. But you can take note nonetheless. Okay, we'll dive deeper into local variables in a second, right? Now we have some sort of idea, right? We have the library class, right? We have the shelf class. We have the book class, right? Now let's actually simulate this. I want to actually create the objects, right? Now a simple way to do this is to, let me see, if you have a button on your form, let's code up the logic in your button. Let's say if you have a button on your form, you double click it, right? Let me clear this out to make it simpler. So when you double click it, you're gonna immediately go to this method. So you're familiar with that at least.
Yeah.
Right? And then this is a side question. What do you call this method? It has a specific name.
What do you call this?
This method. And to give you a hint, when will this method be called? When will it actually execute? Let's say I write some code inside here. When will it actually execute? So imagine you start up your program and then you see the user interface there. Right?
Yeah.
You see this. Right? When will this code execute? This code.
So is it called an event handler?
It's an event handler. Why is it called an event handler?
So then you press that button, press that control.
Yes. When you click this button over here, you click this button on your form, right? This event handler, specifically the click event, you click the button, there's a click event created, right? And the handler detects it's okay, someone clicked the button and it's gonna execute this whole entire block of code. Right? It's an event handler because why? Why is it an event handler? I mean,
because the code that's written there is executed when you click that button.
We can even show an example. Let's say I want to display a message box, for example. Dot show. You're familiar with this, right? Message box dot show, and then I want to show welcome to comp with Francisco, right? And then if I run the program, let's run the program. So you see, Guti, I don't have any messages yet. Nothing is showing up yet. There's no message that popped up. But immediately when I click the button, you see the message is showing up. Welcome to Comp with Francisco. And then I click the button OK. right? To close that whole entire thing. Now, in this button, when I create this, or not create, when this event handler is triggered, I want to create an instance of the library, I want to create an instance of a shelf, and I want to create an instance of a book, right? Does that make sense?
So you want to create an instance of the library, the shelf, and the book.
Yes. An instance, you might wonder, is the same thing as saying an object. So an
Oh,
instance is an object of the class, right? You might get tested and they might ask you a- what uh what the difference between a class and an instance is, or they might trick you. In that case, they might trick you, ne? But usually it comes across what's the difference between a class and an object. You must know that relationship, right? And you must know what a field variable is. You must be able to actually explain it, and you must be able to read some code, and then be able to tell what some of the fields are. Let me actually see if we have. Okay, we don't have any fields in this class. Okay, we don't have any fields in that class. That would have shown an example. So let's create a library, let's create a shelf, and let's create a book. How would you actually go about that?
if you want to create a library,
Yes.
so are we designing the form or?
No. We're working on the code itself. We're working on this event handler. So when I click the button, I want a library to be created, I want a shelf to be created, and I want a book object to be created.
Okay, you start off with declaring the variables.
Okay, that's how we're gonna do it. Okay, how we're gonna do it? Help me type this in. This is your coding
So,
exercise.
okay, so with the library, so int no, it's string library name.
Okay, for to okay, my English.
Uh,
It's early in the morning. But to illustrate this better, what I want you to do is actually code up these classes, ne? And then you're gonna share your screen and then write the code yourself. And then afterwards, we're gonna compare if you're on the right track. So you
yeah.
can share your screen and then you can code up these classes and then create the button event handler so that you're not too behind. I want you this to be theory plus practical, right? Are you able to share your screen?
Oh yeah, yeah. Seven.
Okay, let me see. Can you just give me a second? Let me just join. Oh yeah, I can see your screen. Perfect. Oh, you still have the autocomplete on.
Yeah,
Okay, to have a smoother experience, I think we should turn that off.
yeah.
You know how to
Wait.
turn that off?
Nah. What do you turn it off?
So over there, top right, top right, top right, you see GitHub Copilot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just right click that. When you click that, what happens?
Or I click, nothing happens.
Or click, oh, left click it, and
Okay.
then go to
Settings.
settings, and then in disable Copilot completions and disabled. Yeah, disable both of those. Okay, yeah. So all that you have now is your IDE helping you out. So you see already you have an error there. You can
Yeah.
highlight the error to see what's the error.
The primary construction not updated.
Okay, there you shouldn't be having a semicolon there after library.
Oh, shouldn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you're essentially they're creating. Do you see that you're creating scope? What you just did, you just created scope.
So when I press the comma button, it just automatically
Oh
puts
yeah,
this.
I see. There's a small mistake you're making there.
Okay.
So you have public string, and then the name string name. There should be a space over there. Do you see?
Uh,
Okay. There's a small mistake you're also making, but that's okay. The
which one?
braces over there should be curly braces.
Oh,
Curly braces. Yeah.
okay. That's the
Right. Curly braces. So what that implicitly does, let me see if I can just draw on the screen. What this actually does is you created a library, right? And then you open up the curly braces. So in C Sharp, the curly braces, that's your scope.
Okay.
So that's your whole entire scope. And then for the name field. So you know what when I say the name field, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So for the name field, you created a scope as well that allows you to get the variable and to also set the variable, right?
Okay.
Okay, and then the other classes, you can quickly define the other classes as well. Let me give you like 4 minutes. And there's also one thing I want you to notice while using your IDE. So anytime you see a red squiggly line, right, when you hover on top of it, it'll actually it'll actually suggest what's missing there. So if you hover over
Okay.
there, do you see the code? It shows you the CS8180,
Yeah.
and then it tells you a curly braces or a semicolon or that arrow is expected. So it sort of hints at what's missing. Do you see the get has a semicolon there?
Yeah.
And then the set, it's missing a semicolon.
Oh, afterwards, okay.
Uh, so your IDE will sort of tell you where you're off. You see, this feels way different than using ChatGPT.
Yeah, bro. Say that again, because if you does
uh,
everything, you don't even think
oh yeah,
what
you
you're
just
doing.
okay. Did you create your class scope there
Huh?
when you're trying to define the book class? Where did you create your scope for the class?
With the scope of the class. Oh, I'm doing
Yeah.
it.
No, it's alright. Over time, it'll be snappy like this. Okay, there's another error there. What does it say? So it
Book
says,
number, book name.
oh yeah, the book name, right? And then another field that we had is the ISBN.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna move to your event handler. You're gonna be moving to your event handler, and then we're gonna be creating these objects for these classes.
Okay. So do we start with the form designer?
Yeah, you can simply create a button. You can simply create a button, and then we're gonna create those objects on the click event. Okay, I see what you're trying to do there, including buttons for each class.
Yeah.
But for now, I want you to create them all in one event handler. So you
Intender.
can keep
Okay.
it, yeah, you can keep it at button one. We can keep it at
Cool.
button one. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you actually create? So you have the classes defined, right? Now we have to create the concrete objects. How do you
Yeah.
usually do that?
Message box dot show.
It involves what?
You say message box dot show so that shows something when you click that button.
No, before we display the message box, let's just you're familiar with variable declaration, right? And
Yeah.
initialization.
Yeah.
Yeah, we first have to create variables to actually store the references to those objects. For example, an example of a variable declaration is saying int a is equals to 2,
Okay.
right? So we must implement something similar to that.
So you want to declare. So public string library name.
Okay, you have to be careful when you say public string. Is library a string?
Nah, it's a class.
So it's a class, and a class is it's the same thing as a type. We say it's a type,
Yeah,
right? The class itself, the library class, is a type. So any object that you create from the library class will have which type?
the
It's not going to be a string. It's going to be a library type. And let me actually
okay.
show you. Let me actually show you an example, and then let me see if I can share. You'll reshare in a second. So here's an example. Here's Visual Studio here. So an example, you're familiar that this is a class. It's similar to a type, right?
Yeah,
So over here, I cannot say string. Maybe UKZN library, right? Is equals to. Maybe I want to create an instance of the library. Usually I'd say new library. Let me see why it's not picking this up. Okay, it's picking it up. But when I try to run this, it should give me an error. So it gives me an error. Let's see what the error is. Because your IDE is actually helping you out. But do you see here, we're creating an instance of the library, right?
yeah,
And then when we create an instance of the library itself, what I want you to notice is the type. We're using the library type.
yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Let me just stop this. Okay. Just give me a second. Okay, you probably cannot see my face anymore, but hey, okay, notice that the type here, you're saying that UKZN library is gonna hold a string value, meaning it's gonna be a bunch of characters.
Yeah.
Right? Because an example of a string variable, you would say something like that. Right? This
Yeah.
is a string type. So this value over here is a string value. But notice library is not just a string value, right? Library is a class defined as follows.
Yeah.
Right? A library is supposed to create an object with a field or with an attribute of name.
Okay.
Right? And then the string is not the same thing. So you actually have to say library, because that's the type of the. Because remember, when you're declaring your variables, you say what type it is, right? Usually for numbers, you'd either say integer, or you'd say double, or you'd say decimal, whatever the type is. You'd say decimal, and then the variable name, right? So in this case, it's UKZN library. That's the variable name.
Yeah.
And in this case, the variable name is A, right?
Okay.
Right.
So
you specify.
in this case, library would be the data type.
Yes, library will be the data type. So you can take down a note that class, the library class, is a data type. Does that make sense if you put it in that sense?
Yeah. Because I just know the syntax when you're declaring a variable, it's data type, variable name is equal to the value or whatever.
Yes, you can. Yeah, I can even illustrate it like this. Let's see. you first start with the data type, right?
Yeah.
And then what follows immediately is the variable name. And then you initialize it to the right. When you say equals to,
Initialize.
you initialize it. So let me test your understanding. What is this? This first one,
Good. So that's a data type.
the data type, right? And it's simply saying that this variable holds an object, holds a reference to a library object. And do you understand what a reference is?
Yeah.
So it's simply saying, you can simplify it and say it holds a it holds a reference in a sense. When I say UKZN library, right, I'm referring to this new library over here.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it's a reference, it's referring to this library object over there.
Okay.
So now your types, they always have to be consistent, right? And now let's actually set the field values, right? Let's actually set the field values. Notice we have the name field, right? How would you actually set this? And sort of a hint to know what you can set these values is that you created a set method over here implicitly. You didn't explicitly write it out. You said, okay, this library class is going to have a name, which I'm going to be able to get, and I'm going to be able to set.
Okay.
Right? So that's what this segment means. Right? The name value I'm going to be able to get, and I'm going to be able to set. Right? So to actually set it, you use the reference, you use the variable, right? So you'd say, okay, I want you to try to guess for now. How would we set the name value?
You say library.
Library, like this.
Yeah. Name. Name
Name
is equal to Wiswell.
Westville, something like this.
Yeah.
Okay, but notice there's something sneaky that's happening here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Notice here you're declaring a new variable here.
Yeah.
You're declaring a new variable. Why are you declaring a new variable? Because you're specifying a type, and then you're giving a variable name, right? But then this object or this variable must hold a reference to a library, right? But you're setting it to a string.
Mm.
Do you see the problem?
Yeah.
You're setting it to a string. Now,
So do you
what's
say
interesting?
string name?
Okay, now what I want you to notice, right? Picture that when you wrote this code, right, this whole entire line, you created a new library, and then you called it UKZN library, right?
Yeah.
That's the variable name, Ella. And you created a new library. That simply means, Wuti, you created an object from this class, right?
Okay.
So once you create that object from the class, that's when you say new library, right? Now, this UKZN library refers to the new object that you just created, right? It refers to this object that you just created.
Yeah.
Try to picture that. Now that means that anytime I refer to UKZN library, I refer to that object that I created there, right? I'm creating a new object. Now that object has a property, it has a field called name, right? And to set that name, I actually have to use this variable name, right? Let me show you how. So you actually use that variable name itself, UKZN library dot, right? You're gonna say dot name. And now you see that the autocomplete can detect which, okay, this name variable belongs to the library, and I can set it. Right? You're now referring to this field. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can say it's equals to, let's say, UKZN, Westville. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
So this is another notion that you might actually want to take note of. Anytime you're working with objects, right? Anytime you're working with objects, the standard notion is that you use the variable name, right? And then you use the dot. And then anything after that, it's referencing the property. So you have your variable name dot any property or field, right, or method. Does this new syntax make sense if I specify it like this?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So now what you have to actually understand is the whole entire process of these two lines. You have to be able to draw the picture and tell me what happens, right? And all of this started from us creating a class. We created a simple class with a name field, right? And now we're creating an instance of the class. We're now creating the object. This whole entire line is creating the object. Make sense?
Yeah, let me just try and add that to my Visual Studio.
Oh, you want to add this, but
Yeah.
it's a separate application.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you'll have access to these videos though. You're gonna have access to. You can rewatch any point, and then you can take proper notes, or maybe when it's exam time, you can refer to these as well, right?
So when they taught us the syntax, data type, variable name is equal to whatever you're initializing, why
Yeah.
did they teach us that instead of this one? Because I don't remember seeing this one. But it makes sense when you're explaining it, but
Oh,
I
it's
don't
the
know why.
same.
It's the same
Oh yeah, I
thing.
think that the new confusing thing is this new library. Maybe you're seeing this for the first time. New library like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that this is specific to object-oriented programming. I believe there's a section in your notes as well about objects. They covered it
Okay.
briefly,
Okay.
right? This is similar to saying string school, or maybe high school is equals to maybe caps or something. So it's a similar structure. You have the data type, right? You have the variable name, and then you have the value. It just so happens that in this line, the value was the new object we created.
Okay.
Bon? Is there anything confusing this far, or that you're not sure of?
Yeah, it was just the new library that was confusing.
So you can imagine that what you're essentially creating, you're saying that UKZN library, right, just points to this new library. this is an object. This is how I represent an object, right? And it would be useful for you to draw this down and actually picture yourself creating this object. Because what's going to happen at a deeper level is that this new object is going to be added to memory. So your computer memory, you're familiar with RAM, right?
Yeah.
Random access memory.
Yeah.
So C sharp, the whole entire program will actually create a new object, right? And then it will be saved in your RAM. So, such that anytime you refer to UKZN library, right, the program is actually going to go to your RAM and then go to this object. But that's understanding at a much deeper level. For now, you can just know what you're just creating a new object in memory, and anytime you say UKZN library, you're referring to this specific object, this specific instance. And to lock this in, you could create another. Let me just get rid of this. This was to show an example, right? You could create another library, right? PMB library, for example, is equals to new library. Now, my question to you is, are these two variables referring to the same thing?
Well, they're referring to the library class.
These two. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be careful. The types, both types are the library, right? The types of these variables are both library, as you can tell by the left, ain't it?
Yeah.
But are they referring to the same object? Are they referring to the same object?
I don't think so.
Okay. Why not? Why don't you think so?
Okay, well, my understanding is so PMB library would fall under UKZN library.
Or you think
Okay,
PMB library will fall under UKZN library?
yeah.
Okay, not quite. Why do you think it will fall under?
Because the way I look at it, because I look at UKZN, I see UKZN library as the whole, and then PMB library a component of like how you'd say Wiswell library, so library Wiswell.
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, okay. So depending on how so you're actually looking at the code, how it's structured, and
Yeah,
then you're
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to figure out. Okay, I get what you're trying to say, ne? But notice here, this is different from what we did below here, right? What we did below here was create scope. So remember, this whole entire thing, that's your scope. These curly braces, that's your scope. And anything defined within that scope, you would say it belongs to the library class. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now here, let's go at the top. Let's go here. You'll notice that we're working. Let me highlight the scope. You see these two curly braces?
Yeah.
That's your whole entire scope. So this whole entire range, that's your event handler scope. So I want you to get comfortable with looking at code and then asking yourself, okay, what's the scope here?
Yeah.
Because that will alleviate, it will alleviate a lot of confusion. Now notice that we're in the same scope, right? We're in this event handler scope. And we have a few lines. The first line is to show the message. So when we click the button, it will show the message, right? And then after showing the message, it'll run this line of code. Because it runs the whole it runs the whole entire program line by line, right? So it's going to run that line, run this line, run that line, run that line, and then it will be complete.
Yeah.
Right. So here, this line, you're creating one object, right? You're creating one object over there. And
Yeah.
this separate line, you're creating another object, right? Now you have two variables pointing to two separate objects. Notice that this PMB library, there's no scope or anywhere that we've written a curly brace and then we've included it inside the UKZN library. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, now I understand it.
Okay. So now you understand we have two separate variables, right? Pointing to two different objects.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the whole entire essence of object-oriented programming. You first define your classes, right? You define your classes like this, and then in your program you can create instances of those classes. Now let's do something different. I'm going to illustrate creating a shelf class, right? And I feel like I'm going to change the approach of how we're going to do these sessions. The video, right, that I'm going to be recording, it's mainly going to be us exploring the topic and then me demonstrating it. And then afterwards, you're going to have the free time on your own to go over this content and then practice it, right? So you need to be comfortable with it. After we're done with the session, you go and then you practice what we did, right? Okay, so now let's complete the rest of the task. I want us to create the shelf objects and the book objects. The shelf objects and the book objects. Or actually, we haven't specified the name for the library. Let's do that first before we jump to the rest. And now around the hour mark, I usually have the students take a break because you would have absorbed so much information. But I feel like we should. I feel like we should just complete this exercise, and then sort of see what new information you've gained, and if this process of learning is helpful to you or not, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, now let's initialize this name field. And we're gonna have to initialize it on each of these. So we have the library, right? And then we have the PMP library.
Yeah.
So the UKZN library, how do we set the name?
So string.
You want to declare another variable.
Oh, okay. We can also question, now that you have this other object, library, in that library, how do you then set the name? Because I need to there's two library name options every have Wismo and PMB. But then you've already created this other object library, PMB library.
Yes. So okay, I get your question, right? So we have this library, UKZN library, we have the PMP library, right? This variable name has nothing to do with the actual field that we've defined here. Do you understand that concept?
Yeah.
That variable name is the name that you call the object. It's not this field. We haven't actually set this field. Now ideally we want to name this object Want to set the name to maybe Westville, to know that this is a Westville library, right? And
Yeah.
we'll address the next one after we finish this one. So
Okay.
what you want to do is notice the structure that we've shown earlier just now, that you use your variable name dot something, and then you use that whole entire syntax.
Okay.
So how would you think I'll write this out?
Would you say UKZN library.name
Yes, UKZN library dot name.
is equal to PNB?
Oh, this one. You want to set it to PMB? Okay,
Yeah.
PMB, PMB. And then what about this one? What about this one? So now what you did effectively here is you have one object. This is the UKZN library, right? And you set the name to PMB. That's this UKZN library object,
Yeah.
right? And now this one, ideally we want to. Okay, this was a bit vague on our side. Do you see? This
Yeah.
variable name is a bit vague. We don't know. You cannot infer from the variable name what name you should have used.
Yeah.
I feel like let's change this to we can say UKZN library 1, UKZN library 2,
Yeah.
right? To make it simpler. And then this first one refers to the PMP library. And then I want the
Yes.
second one to be what?
UKZN.library is equal to Lismo.
UKZN library 2, because we're using
Yeah.
this variable name. Dot name is equals to Westville,
Yeah.
right? Now, what you effectively did is you created a separate object, right? And then you set the name.
Yeah. This makes sense now with the library 1, library 2.
Yeah. But you could want to make your variable names more descriptive. You could call this PMB library and UKZN or maybe Westville library for this one. And
Okay.
then the name would be just corresponding to that,
Yeah.
right? So in the session, we effectively covered the basics, the absolute basics of object-oriented programming, right? And so now, the remaining thing is that we can create. I feel like on your own you can be able to create the shelf and the book. Do you think you will be able to do that
Yeah.
from this exercise?
Yeah.
You'll be able to create your shelf and the book, and you'll also be able to set the field variables.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now another thing that I saw in your test is this distinction between a field variable and then there was a local variable, a field variable and a local variable.
Yes.
Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Okay. Now my question to you is, what type of variable is UKZN library 1?
That's a field variable.
Are you sure?
No, it's a local. Yeah. Library.
Are you sure?
Library. Okay. Okay. So I know that library would be the field variable.
Library.
Yes.
Or are you saying UKZN library? This,
Yes, UKZN library. Yeah,
it would be a field variable. Why?
because it belongs to the class.
Okay, maybe I can see why you're trying to get at that. But let's look at where this whole entire line is defined, right? Do you see this whole entire scope? This
Yeah,
whole entire event handler scope. So this button submit scope,
yeah,
right? We're effectively defining, let me see. We're defining this variable inside this method, right? And it's different from us doing what? It's different from us defining an attribute inside a class like this. Do you kind of see the difference?
yes,
So here, when we define this name attribute, it's a field because this attribute tells us something about the class. It's an attribute of the class, right? When I create an object, I can say object dot name and refer to this field as we did before, right?
okay,
That's called a field, right? It's scoped to this class. But notice here, over here, this is a function. You understand what a function is, right?
yeah, yeah.
What is a function?
It's I just know from maths, like it's only associated with
Yeah,
two.
it's similar to maths.
It's
It's sort
similar,
of but go ahead.
like let's say like f of x is equal to 2x
Yes, f of
plus
x
3.
is equals to 2x plus 3. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. This is an example of a function, right? In programming, you would translate this to f being the method name. I want to sort of connect math with what we're doing here. You would say f is the method name, right? And then x. Notice here we have the brackets here, right? X is the parameters or the arguments that you pass in, right?
yeah,
And then this is the whole entire function scope or the whole entire function body. It's what the function does,
okay.
right? So you can see when I say it's a function, you're right. Would you say f is a class though? Is f a class?
Mm, I wouldn't necessarily say that.
No, it's not a class, right?
Yeah,
The same applies to this button submit click. It's not a class. But it's a what? It's a function. A function is synonymous to method. So they
okay.
so they might use function or they might use method, right? It's the same thing. Now notice where are we okay, so you get the idea of a function. So now you know that this button submit click is a function. It's a
Yes,
method, right? And then inside this method, we said we have a scope, this whole entire scope. So everything between the curly braces, right? Everything between the curly braces. And what are we doing inside that scope? We're creating this variable. We're creating this UKZN library variable, right?
yeah,
And then Is that a field variable or a method local variable?
UKZN library one.
Yes. Is this a
Is
field
it
value or is it a method local variable?
UKZN library one would be a local variable.
Why is it a local variable? In other words, how does it differ from writing this exact same line but within a class scope?
Mm, wouldn't it be because it's it's an attribute of an object? I don't know.
Or UKZN library, you're saying it's an attribute of an object.
Library one, yeah.
Okay. Library one is not an attribute of an object, but it's a variable name that you refer to that you use to refer to this object. Does that
Okay.
make sense? It's a
Okay.
variable name. It's a reference to this library object,
Okay.
right?
So
So,
so it's a local variable because of that.
okay, a local variable, you have to look at the scope because everything is relative to the scope, right? Everything that you do in programming is dependent on where you do it, right? And how you define things depends on where you actually define it. So we've established a foundation that you know that this is a function, right?
Yeah.
This is a function. So you're within a function scope. This whole entire scope. You're within a function
Sure.
scope, right? You cannot say that library UKZN library one is a field of button submit click. That doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
right? Because button submit click is not a class, it's a function,
Yes.
right? So it's local relative to the function that where you've defined it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And to even
Yeah.
illustrate this, I think it's a good time to illustrate this point. You on your form you created separate buttons, right? I'm gonna create a copy of this button. Let me create a copy of this button. So these are going to be two buttons, right? And then let's try to access this variable from within this event handler. So you notice that this event handler is for the big button, right? This big button over
Yeah.
here, right? And then this next one that I've just created now is for the smaller button, right? And then what I did in the first button is I created two library instances. I created two library objects, right? Two library objects. Now I want to see if I can access this library object from within this scope. So, for example, I want to show a message. Let's say I click this button, yeah, this new
Yeah.
button. I want to show a message. Show message of the UKZN library one name field. Do you understand what I want to do here?
Yes.
What do you think we're gonna do here?
It's gonna show a message of, the, so since UKZN library one, name is PMB,
Yes.
it'll show a message there.
It will show a message saying PMP,
Yes.
right? So we can actually write up the logic for this. So you should be familiar with message box.show. And then I want it to be more granular. Let's say the library name is, and then I want to say, notice I want to print out this string, ne? And then the library name afterwards. So I'm gonna say the library name is plus the library name itself. So I want to use this variable over here. Do you see?
Yeah.
So let's try to do that. Dot name. And you would think it should work. You would think it should work. Now if I try to run this, let's see. You see it gives me an error.
Yeah.
So why do you think that is?
Mhm. Is it not because you had already stated the library name? Hey, hold on. Let me check this. Hold on, show me.
Okay, Lana, we made a mistake there. Okay, but you see we set the library name to KZN
PMB, yeah.
to PMB, right? And now notice that all this logic over here is scoped to the button submit click,
Yeah.
right? So all of this logic will only run once the button is clicked. So does that make sense if we say only once the button is clicked, the body logic is executed?
Yes.
The function body is executed, right?
Yeah.
And to give you a hint, look at the scope. I want you to look at the scope. So look at the scope of the whole entire thing here. Picture as everything inside this rectangle belongs and is defined only when the button click method is invoked. Only when the button submit click method executes. Right? And over here, this is a separate scope. Do you see?
Yeah.
It's a separate scope. I'm trying to access the UKZN library 1. I'm trying to access a variable defined in this scope. Is that even possible?
Couldn't be possible. Unless you have to include everything else that's in the scope in the first one, the one that's highlighted.
So in order to use, so you're saying in order to use UKZN library 1, you have to use it within the scopes. Maybe somewhere here, if you were to write the code somewhere there.
Yeah.
Right? That's true. That's essentially the key to the problem here. The key to the problem is that all of these variables, all of this logic that you wrote here is scoped. Right? It belongs to this scope. Scoped means it's locked to the scope.
Yes.
It's local. It's local relative to the function. And if you want to picture this mathematically, let's say you have f of x doing that, and then g of x is equals to something else. right? You cannot, let's say f of x defines a circle, a rectangle, right? G of x cannot just simply just use that circle that's defined in f of x, because g of x is its own logic. I'm not sure if that
Yeah.
makes much more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, these two functions, everything that you define inside this function is
Yeah.
local relative to the function. The same thing with programming, right? The same thing goes with programming. So essentially, every logic that we've defined, so I'm going to keep that. So how would we change it such that we can actually access this UKZN library 1 in this scope? How can you change that?
Wouldn't you include the message box that show in the the button submit click
Okay,
method?
it's a possible solution, right? To move the logic over to here. But
Yeah.
now, when I click the submit button, right? When I click the submit button, the logic will run, and the message will show. But I want to create it such that when I click this other button, the
Yeah.
message only shows. I want the message to show when I click this button, because when I move that logic over to the other scope, effectively what I'm saying is I'm going to show the message once I click this button. Yeah, well. So I want to make it such that when I click this other button,
You want only this to show.
yes, only when I click this button. Now to give you a hint, because maybe you're currently looking at these two scopes, but not taking into account that you're inside a much larger scope. What do I mean by that? You see, you're inside a class.
Yeah.
All of this logic happens inside a class, right?
Yeah.
And this class has how many methods? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then 5.
Yeah.
All inside this form class. And you see above it gets highlighted. The class that you're actually in, it gets highlighted, right?
Yeah.
So when you scroll, you can know which class you're in. Now, what if I created this variable not inside the function, right? But I created it to be a field. What if I created this variable to be a field? Do you see now it's actually a field?
Yeah.
And why is it a field again?
So it now belongs to the class
Okay, let's be specific. Which
instead of
class?
the method. The
And I'm assuming you guys haven't done inheritance yet, Sangit?
No, we haven't done it yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna simplify things. Uh, this class, the class name is actually form 1, right? The class name, your form name, yabo? That form name you see there,
Yeah.
that's actually the class, right? That's form 1. Now when I create a library variable like this, it becomes a field of this form,
Okay.
right? And when you define it like this, Let me see. When you define it like this, now that this whole entire scope, everything within the class scope has access to this variable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, bro? Everything within this whole entire scope. Okay, that's a bit too much. Yeah, up until here, right? This whole entire class scope, right? Versus if you defined it inside there, I need to had something like this. Initially, we defined it inside there. When you define it within this scope, nothing outside the scope can access anything you write inside the scope. So if you define anything inside the scope, you cannot access it from here. You cannot access it from anywhere else. You cannot access it from here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So how about, let's actually do this exercise. I'm going to define this library, right, to make it a field attribute. So now these are the things that you should look for, right? When you get a question in a test, try to identify, okay, what scope am I in? Am I in a class scope, or am I in a function scope? If I'm in a class scope, then I'm dealing with field variables. If I'm in a function scope, then I'm dealing with what? Local variables, right? So let's actually test this out. I'm going to create this field, right? UKZN library 1. And then instead of declaring it again, notice I'm using the word declare. Instead of declaring it again, I'm only going to initialize it here.
Yeah.
Right? Or even better, let me see. Okay, you guys haven't done constructors, so this might confuse you a little bit. But essentially, when the form is created, my vele UI le. My vele le UI, this whole entire thing, ne? What actually happens is this constructor is used to initialize the form. Yeah, bo? Meaning it does all the logic, and then you see the form pop up on your screen. Right? What you could do is initialize le value yakho la inside form load. So you could say UKZN library 1 is equals to new library. Yeah, bo? And then instead of initializing it here, we just simply set the name. Just see if you try to if you can understand what we're trying to do. And you can say if you're super confused, that's okay.
Okay, I'm confused. So are you trying to declare? So you're declaring the variable there, right?
Yes, I'm declaring the variable as I'm using it as a field variable, right?
Yes.
And then when I click the submit button, now the only thing that I'm gonna do is set the name attribute to PMP.
Yeah.
Right? But in order for you to set the name, notice you'll need the object to be initialized. You need the variable to be initialized. Because if you straight up use this as is, the value there is null. Does that make sense?
So you declared and initialized.
Yeah, we declared it, but we didn't initialize it, so it doesn't actually hold reference to an object. There's no object that
under the class, and then in the method you initialize it.
Yeah, you can do that. You can declare it in a class as a field, right? You're declaring it as a field in the class, ne? But inside the method, you're actually declaring it. But notice I did something strange. This might be new to you.
Declaring it in the method.
Yes, I'm declaring it in the. No, I'm not declaring it. I'm initializing it in the method. Does that make sense?
Yeah, now I understand.
Okay. So again, over here we what? We declared it, right? And then what we did here was initialize it. We haven't set the property name, we haven't set the field name. All we did was just initialize the UKZN library. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And this will happen when the form loads. Or maybe if this is too complex for you, we can initialize it over here inside this button. Or you understand what we did so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So now the form is going to be created, right? When the form is created, our variable is going to be initialized. So we're going to have an object to work with. Now it's no longer going to be null. And by the time we click the submit button, we're going to be setting the attribute name to PMB.
Okay, imali. So lana I could say ukuthi name lapha ku line 34.
Yeah.
Would that be a local variable to the method button submit click?
Okay. If you have to be careful. Where did we define UKZN library 1?
Defined it.
Yes, where did we define it?
Under
Where did we
the
declare it?
class.
So we declared it here at the top on it.
Yeah.
We declared it there, right? We initialized it there. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then now we have an object. At this point, we have an object to work with. And when you have an object, you can use this object notation that we discussed. The object dot name or object dot attribute, right? That's what we did here. UKZN library dot name.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna ask you that question, right? Is UKZN library a local or a field variable? Is it a local or a field variable? UKZN library 1.
The field variable because of where it was declared.
Yes. So we declared it in the class itself, in the class scope. So you can picture this whole big picture scope that encapsulates the whole entire class. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
then what would be the local variable?
So the local variable UKZN library is no longer a local variable. Ne? Notice the distinction. I want you to notice the distinction between UKZN library 1 and UKZN library 2.
Yeah.
What's the difference between those two?
UKZN library 1 was declared in the class.
Yes.
And then UKZN library 2 is declared in the method.
Okay.
Also, then UKZN library 2 would be the local variable.
Are you asking or are you telling me?
I'm telling you.
So it will be the local variable because it's declared inside the scope, this local method scope.
See, now this makes sense. Now I understand it. Yeah. Okay.
So now do you see? Let's actually test out this code, right? Let's actually test out this code. And now this code assumes ukuthi i-form lama load, ne? When the form pops up on the screen, it also creates that object.
Yes.
Yeah, and that will be stored in UKZN library 1. Now let's save this and try to run this. And I think I'll be able to give you the project to save you some time, or Yeah, I think I'll be able to give you the project to save you some time as well. So that you can just work on here and change a few things, or you could code it up from scratch if you
I
like.
can code it up. Yeah.
I think that will be better for your practice, and you'll also have this with you for reference,
Yeah.
so that you can reference it. Let me just save this. Form 1 already exists. Okay, let me not save it yet. Hopefully I can run it without saving it. Okay, let me actually check something. There might be conflicting forms. I already have a form 1.cs. When was this created? The 6th. This is today, right?
Yeah, the 6th. Yeah.
Okay, let me just... Oh my gosh, I have to free up some space. Okay, let's try to run this without... Oh my god, my meaning clear space. Okay, I'm gonna give you the code to run it, né? But what essentially we've done is that this variable now, né, it holds an object. It holds the new library object, because when the form pops up, the library object is created and it's set to UKZN library 1. And then
Yeah.
now, do you see that we can access UKZN library 1 within this scope?
Yeah.
Because we're
Yeah.
trying to say UKZN library 1 dot name.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, what's another aspect?
So basically, if you were to add another button, like button 1, and you click it, then the message will be able to show.
Yes, because we have button 1. Button 1 is the other button,
Yeah.
separate from that event handler, right? So this is
Yeah.
the big buttons event handler. This is the smaller button event handler, right? And now when I click this button, it'll show a message saying that the library name is, and then we'll get this this object's name field, and then it will show the appropriate message. But if you were to try UKZN library 2, let's say over here, let's replace this with UKZN library 2, right? You'll notice over here I'm using UKZN library 2, right? You won't be able to access that local variable, because it's local to, relative to this function. So this whole entire scope. And now this dovetails nicely with there's a question in your paper which was asking you something along the lines of, what would the value of such and such be? Let me see if I can see it. Oh yeah, see this question. Does it make better sense now that we've covered the basics of object-oriented programming? Can you see the screen? Just to make sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I now look at it. So your variable counter.
So we have the counter over there. It's a field variable. You know why it's a field variable, right?
Yeah.
And we have the form 1 that initializes the component. Okay, that's fine. And then you have what? What do you call this?
That's the event handler.
Event handler. And it also gives you a hint to say this is an event handler, because you have this event arguments attribute. It sort of gives you a hint to what you're dealing with events, right?
Yeah.
And the component associated with this event, it's the button count click. That's the component, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the try to make sense of the whole entire code and then walk me through it.
Okay, so we've got int counter is equal to 0, so it's a field variable. And then,
And I want you to use the keywords that we used in this lesson. The I want you to use scope. I want you to use local. I want you to use variable. I want you to use field, right? To make sense of, to get used to using those terms while you're thinking about it.
so we see the variable counter gets declared
Sure.
um, as an integer equal to 0 under the class. And then I'm not sure why it's only saying initialize component.
Oh, it's similar
Can you
to
remind that?
okay. It's similar to what we
Yeah.
had here. You remember? It comes standard with the form. This initialize
Okay.
component.
Okay. So nothing happens there.
All this does is it shows up. It makes sure that the form shows up on the screen once you run the program. Nothing too fancy.
And then we have the event button counter. I'm assuming the name of the button is count. Um, that's the method. And then another, so the local variable, local count is declared.
Was it declared only?
And it's also initialized, and the counter is initialized.
Okay. Is the
Those are the
count the
methods.
counter? Okay, let's look at the counter. So you're saying this, or it was initialized to 0?
How it is initialized to 0, yeah.
Okay.
But then I'm not sure what the, so when it says counter plus plus under the method and local count plus plus. Oh, so that's what happens to the variables. They get added each time you press the button
They get added by what?
by one consecutively. No.
Okay. I mean, we can even test this out. Let's actually test this out to see a clear demonstration. Let's say we have a counter, right? In counter, and then when I click, let me comment. Okay, let's actually use this code segment. I'm gonna comment out this code, ne? And then the message box, I want to show the counter. Counter. Okay. So I've created the field. It's a field variable counter. It was initialized to 0, right?
Yeah.
It was initialized to 0. And then when I click button 1, that's the smaller button, I want to say count plus plus. Counter plus plus. And then I want to show the counter value. Right? And let's see if I can run this. Okay, my program won't actually run. I have to sort up my storage after this call. but
Oh,
but this actually is the same thing as saying counter is equals to counter plus 1. And you might also see sometimes minus minus.
so we counter minus one.
Yes, counter is equals to counter minus 1. Okay. So
Mandy, maybe that message box show field counter. okay, so show the field variable counter is equal to plus counter plus routine though.
Okay, notice here, angithi you know what is string in code kumele sibhale ngama double quotation kanje,
Yeah,
maybe value. It must be in double quotations. So lana, you're saying message box.show. Ukhumbule message box.show shows a string. It shows some text. Right? This is
yeah,
an example of some text. So you have
uh,
a double quotation here, and then the text field counter is equals to, and then you're closing the text, right? Plus means, let's say you had a, yeah, plus 5, yeah, that will result in a 5. Does it make sense? You're essentially going to append the 5 to the a.
okay,
Does it make sense?
yeah,
Okay, so applying this here, applying the same thing here, we have what? We have this string field counter is equals to, that's literally the text that's going to show up. And then we're simply appending the counter variable, so the actual value of the counter.
okay,
Yeah, and you can write this down. It can be, you can write this down as you read it. It's gonna read field counter is equals to, and then that's when this whole entire thing stops, ain't it? And then when you say plus, it's gonna read the counter value. So at this point, what's the counter value?
0.
It's 0, right? It was 0 initially. It was 0 initially. But when you click the button, what happened? When someone clicks this button, you understand what all the code inside is going to execute one by one by one.
Yeah,
Right. So the first thing that happens is we declare and initialize this local count to 0.
yeah,
Right. And then we increment counter by 1. So counter is that variable over there. We're incrementing it by 1. And then afterwards, we're incrementing the local count by 1. So this variable is going to be incremented by 1. Right? And the message that's going to show, it's going to be built by this string that's defined here. Fill counter is equals to, that's literally going to be shown. And then we're appending the counter. What's going to be the value of the counter the first time I click it?
it's gonna be 0,
Are you sure?
1.
Why is it 1?
It does not get incremented by 1.
Yes, it gets incremented by 1 before we even show the message. So it gets executed line by line by line, right, the method. So it's going to show 1 plus local counter, this whole entire string, plus we're appending the local count. What's going to be the value of the local count?
1 as well.
It's going to be 1 as well, right? Let's say you click the button the second time. What are the values going to be?
2 and 2.
Are you sure? 2 and 2.
So it gets incremented by 1, right? So we'll go from 1 to 2.
Okay, the counter. Okay, remember what we said. You said that the local count is a local variable, right?
Yeah.
Meaning when does it actually get declared and initialized?
The local count gets declared and initialized under the method.
Yes, under the method, and this is a click handler, right?
Yeah.
So whenever a person clicks this button, this whole entire scope is going to be executed,
Yes.
right? So now notice you're saying that when you click it the second time, the counter is going to be 2. Okay, let's check. The counter, it's declared as a field variable. It currently, before you click the button for the second time, it had the value of 1,
Yeah.
right? Okay, that's fine. It's going to print out, it's going to increment counter, and then the value that's going to be printed is going to be 2. So the second value is going to be 2, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be 2 over there. But then the local count plus plus, local count plus plus, what's going to be the value for the local count the second time you click?
2.
It's not going to be 2.
Only 2. Hey, that's not much.
It cannot be 2. Because when you execute this whole entire block again, né, you're initializing this local count. You're initializing it
Also,
to 0.
again, 0 and then
Uh,
goes to, okay.
sure. And what happened was, notice that this counter remained in memory for as long as you were running the application. So you remember RAM, right? You
Yeah.
recall RAM, right? This field variable remained in RAM for as long as the program was running, né? But
Yeah.
but the counter, this local count,
Yeah.
it was only placed in RAM when the button was clicked, right?
Okay.
It was placed in RAM when the button was clicked, and then after this function executes, it gets deleted from RAM. Right? It gets deleted from memory. So that when you click it the second time, you declare it and you initialize it again. So counter had the variable of a value of 2, right? But local count is gonna get initialized to 0 first, right? And then get incremented by 1. Meaning the next value is still gonna be 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what happens when you click it the third time? When you click
Field
the
counter.
button count.
Okay. When you click the button count, so the field counter will print 3.
So
Go from 2
3,
to
and then local count will print what?
1.
Will still be 1,
Yeah.
right? So you can clearly see from even the coding example that we did, you can outline the scope. So maybe something that will help you out tomorrow is to actually know the scope and to highlight the scope, to say, okay, this is the, let me see, you want to outline okay, that's ugly. You want to outline this is the class scope. So any variable defined within the class, they are field variables, right? And then you must conceptualize okay, how are they added to RAM? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you must know okay, this is the local scope of the function. So anything that's defined within this function is going to be local, right?
Yeah.
And so let me see the question. So do you think you'll be able to answer the question, or
Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
be able to get some
Because
code?
there's an MCQ question. Go to question 11.
Question 11. Let's go there.
They actually asked the question, which of the following is true with regard to the code?
Sure.
And I think it's option A.
Option A. So
Yeah.
counter keeps increasing with every button click, and you know why. You can explain why now, right?
Yeah.
And the local count resets to 0 each time the method runs. right?
Yes.
And each time the method runs, it's when someone clicks, because it's an event handler,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And also, you must be able to also read any code, tell the scope. You must be able to tell, okay, what's the scope that I'm working with? Am I working with a class scope? Am I working with a function scope? Right? Where are my values defined? And you must be able to follow what the code is actually doing. That's what they mainly test for.
Yeah.
And they don't test you for super complex code that's gonna be super difficult. Right?
So the question 12, I can already see that's method scope.
It's method scoped. Do you see? Because you have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
method over here. And this method,
Yeah.
what did we say is this type of method? What do you call this method?
That's your event handler.
Is because you have an event. It only triggers, it only runs when an event occurs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. How would you go about solving this question?
Okay. Let's see. You can see um, the score variable gets declared. And score is equal to convert to int 32.
Can you make sense of the first line there?
I can't make sense of converts to int 32. I know it's conversion play, but I'm not sure what actually happened.
Okay, so this is a okay. I recommend that you actually create for all of these codes for your practice, ne? You create a simple project, ne? And then
Yeah.
you create a form and then you code it. You try to test the code. But to save you some time right now, what this will do is it'll look at the text score. It's gonna be an input box on it,
Yeah.
right? And whatever value that's there, maybe this is 12 or 120 or 1200, right? It can be any string, right?
Yeah.
The text. Do you see that text score is an object? This object, and then the dot text you're referring to the field. So it actually has a
Yeah.
text field. Right. So now that we covered the basics, now everything will start to fall into place. You'll know what's okay. I'm working with a text score. It's an object. It's a text input object. It has a text field, right? And that text field, it's a string, right? This will be read as 1200. So dot text. In this case, it would be 1200. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And to know that it's a string, you look at the quotation marks. So it will take that string and then it will convert to an integer. Right? It will convert that to an integer. Now it's in the specifics. You don't have to dive deep at this point, but it specifies the size of the integer, right? But for now, you should know that it just converts whatever that text was to an integer, right? Because you can tell that
Yeah.
score is an integer,
Okay.
right? So you're taking that text, you're converting it into an integer, and then continue from here. You can continue from the next line. Try to make sense of the next line.
The if.
So the
What
line
we saying?
after int score is equals to convert to the line after that.
Okay. Double bonus. So that's declaring a variable, but it wasn't initialized.
Sure.
And
So
it
it currently
says,
has no value, right?
yeah, I know that.
Okay,
And
continue.
then so if the score is greater than or equal to the value 50, then the bonus variable gets initialized.
Sure.
Bonus will be equal to the score plus the value 20. Else, the bonus will equal to the score plus 10.
Okay.
And the double total is equal to score plus bonus. And then label total, that's your, would that be a field?
Sure. That field. Label total dot text. Yeah, it's the field. It's the
Yeah,
text field.
text field, yeah, is equal to total dot to string. Uh,
So you understand what toString does, right?
yeah, no, sort of, how
It also does conversion. So total, you'll notice it's a double. Yeah? But the data type of the text field, it cannot be a double. It must be a string. It must be a string.
yeah,
So you must convert the double to a string.
convert the double to a string.
Yeah. So the toString you can also convert integer. You can also convert integer. Basically most objects you can convert to a string,
Okay.
right? So then the question asks you what's going to be the value of this label. Oh no, they ask you if the value of label total. So there's two labels. There's the total, right? And then there's an input, right? So this is a label, and then this is the input. This is the text score input,
Yeah.
right? So how would you go about solving this?
I won't lie, I don't even know because I know simple maths doesn't apply.
Simple. It is simple maths. It
But
is simple
okay,
maths.
all I know is in the test, I just went through all the options and I tried to,
You try to guess.
yeah, I tried to guess. Okay,
Let's
okay,
not do that.
so
Let's not do that now.
do I say one? Okay, wait, hold on. Mhm.
I mean, you can take this code and express it in and create a mathematical expression.
Is it?
Yeah, you can take this code and read it and create a mathematical expression.
Okay, so we know that the method is the function, right? So,
Yeah,
so that would be your f of x.
yeah. Okay. Let me see where you're going with this. Okay, continue.
Mm. I don't mean to confuse myself.
Okay, I didn't. Okay, when I said you can convert this into a mathematical expression, I didn't mean you could rename this method into f of x. Yeah, but not merely just that. I meant the whole entire problem, the whole entire question 12.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming you have a good math background. You can think mathematically. It's just that you struggle a bit with coding, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's how I would solve it, right? So they say in the code below, if the value of LBL total displays 30 or 130, what value was most likely entered into the text score, right? So utotal wako, total would be 130. Angit?
Yeah.
They're saying total is 30. And now they're asking what value was most likely entered into text score, right? Now you have to read the code. Score is the value that I actually don't know, right? So you can say score it's X or something like that. And then bonus, it's another variable, right? we can call it y in this case. And then if x is greater than or equals to 50, bonus is equals to what? Bonus is equals to score plus 20, right? So we're saying y is equals to x. Oh my god, it's gonna crash. Oh, it's gonna crash. Okay, but let me see if I can open it up again. It just crashed on me. Okay, just give me a moment. Oh, it's gonna open up again. Okay, I must sort out the storage because I'm egg. Okay. So we said y is equals to score plus 20, which means x plus 20, right? So this is if x is greater than or equals to 50, right? Else, bonus, yabo, ubonus usithe ubani? Y is equals to score plus 10, x plus 10. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And then total, nisho ilola, sesla. So you see, I'm going through the code line by line and trying to make sense of it. And I'm using a piece of paper, okay, I'm using a computer screen, but you would ideally use a piece of paper to actually outline the logic, to follow the logic. Because it's quite difficult to not use a piece of paper when starting out. Yeah, when starting out coding, you have to actually use a piece of paper. It's gonna feel slow, but you're actually learning. Yeah, you're actually learning how to think in terms of steps. Yeah, step by step by step by step in order to accomplish a goal. So this total, it's equals to what? Score plus bonus. Score is one x angithi?
Yeah.
Ne? Plus bonus y angithi? X plus y. Yabo? Now utotal wethu bathe ubani? 130. Angithi? Total wethu 130 la. Do you see what I'm trying to get at? The total is 130. Is equals to, I don't know what x is. Ne?
Yeah.
Plus, okay, y wami yini? Bonus. OI1 bonus. And do you see OI1 has two possible values. OI can either be x plus 20 or x plus 10, depending on whether or not x is greater than or equals to 50.
Yeah.
So let's say we say x is less than 50. Let's say we take this position. Let's suppose x is less than 50. Ne? X plus 10 would be the value of y. You understand?
Yeah.
And try to see, Uguti, this is actually the same thing as what's written in code. I've just translated it into a more mathematical expression. Yeah. This is exactly the same thing. If score is less than, or if score is greater than or equals to 50, y is equals to this value. And in the end, you're substituting the value of y because y is your bonus. You're substituting the bonus value, right?
Yeah.
And then let's consider this. Now you simply have to solve for x. If you solve for x, what do you get here in this case?
55.
You can't.
Pardon?
If you solve for x, what are you going to get?
55.
55. Let's say 55
here. Yeah, so it's 130 minus.
Okay, let's consider the other alternative, right? Let's say x is greater than or equals to 50.
Yeah, 60, and they put the wrong number.
It can be what? Zhuang?
So 60, lapho y is equal to x plus 10 if you solve for x
Or
using that
x
one.
would be 60 in this case.
So yeah,
So which one is it? Which value is it?
and then 55.
55.
Now I'm saying in the first case, x is equal to 60, and then if you're using y is equal to x plus 20, x is equal to 60, 55, sorry. Yeah.
Or
So
in this
x
case,
equals
x is 55.
55,
And in this case, x is what? 60. Is that what you said?
55.
Or 55 here?
Yeah, the one. Yeah, so it's 60 there, and then
Or 60
55
here?
on the other one. Yeah,
Okay, so 60 here. And then 55 here.
yeah.
So our final answer is what?
Now there's both 55 and 60 in the option.
Yes, both 55 and 60 is in the option.
So if score is greater than 50, yes, 10.
Because imagine this, if you pick a value that's smaller than 50, yeah,
Mm,
for the score,
mm.
the value cannot be 130, can it? Let's say score is 5, for example. Can the total be 130?
Now,
It cannot, right? Let's say it's 20, x is 20. Or even let's say x is 50. Let's say x is 50. Now I'm gonna clear this out
yeah,
so that it's easier to see, right? We're gonna be working on the code itself. So let's clear this out. So let's follow this. If let's say this is 50 on the dot, right? This block is gonna execute, right?
yeah,
So bonus would be what? 50 plus 10, right? And then the total would be score, which is what? 50 plus 50 plus 10. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So this would be 110. So any value smaller than 50 cannot be the answer. Because if you take this to make it 49, it will just reduce this to 109, for example.
yeah,
Okay, not entirely, because this is 250s. But you get it's gonna decrease this total number. But what was important was the steps that you took. The steps that you took. Do you think you'll be able tomorrow to get a question like this and then try to solve it by writing what's happening down on paper and then trying to come to
yeah.
a solution?
Yeah, I think it's better if I do it like that.
Yeah, you just have to practice this question.
Since,
Other than that, there's also this question over here
oh
that you
yeah,
might come
yeah.
And you said it's an if then in your test. But what I want you to see is that if you detect a cycle like this, you're definitely going to have a loop, right? Anytime you detect a cycle, you're going to have a loop.
Yeah.
Because as long as this expression is true, you're going to keep executing the same block again and again and again and again.
Okay.
And I'm sure you must be tired by now. It's been almost 2 hours.
Yeah,
how do you feel?
almost 2 hours.
How do you feel
I just
about the session though?
okay.
Your energy
Hold
levels and
on.
all that.
Pardon?
You say, how do you feel at this point in the session?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling way more confident, especially with the stuff that we did initially. Um, being able to spot the difference between the field variable and local variable.
Sure.
Um, yeah, looking at the classes, stuff like that. I'm
Yeah.
definitely feeling more confident looking at code now
I mean,
and
to be
writing
honest, I
code.
feel like you're gonna crush tomorrow's test. If after our session today you go and practice, you're gonna be
Yeah,
comfortable in the test. Nothing's gonna trick you. Because even if they
yeah,
try to mix up the variables, you're gonna be able to tell, okay, where is this declared, right?
yeah,
Where
yeah,
is the
yeah,
scope?
yeah, yeah,
But you're
definitely.
gonna have the concept of RAM as well.
Yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. I'll just practice later on and then I'll let you know later on. If I'm struggling with anything.
Right? And then, okay, this last question. Notice, Uti, I want you to notice something. Ne? We're assuming, Uti, some code executed. There were some steps that were executed. And finally, we enter into this step. Right? Notice we do something. We do something. So, all of these statements, it's us doing something. And then, while this is true, continue to do that same thing. Do it again. Do you understand how to make sense of this? Uh,
Yeah.
so we start with doing something. While this is true, do it again. While this is true, do it again. Until it's false, then you can continue. And then there can be some other instructions as well.
Okay.
So what do you think that type of loop is?
Do while loop.
A do while. So because you first do, and then you check the condition, right? A while loop would be something like this. You'd enter, and then you'd ask yourself, is this true? If yes, you're gonna do some statements and then come back like this, right? And if it's not true, you're gonna continue. Let's say no. So you understand the difference here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's in the order. It's in the order, right? This is a standard while loop, and then this is a do while because you start by executing something, right? And then you check if the condition is still true, and then you do it again.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, bro. And the for loop, how can you tell it's a for loop? Usually they're gonna say for each item, for example. Then you know it's a for loop because you know how many items are there. While for a while loop, you don't know how many times this is gonna run.
Okay.
So the while loop is it's gonna run. It's gonna run indefinitely up until the expression is false. While it's true, it's gonna do
Yeah.
it, do it. It's gonna do it again and again and again, up until the statement is false. It's false.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then let me see. Let's do last two questions. Okay, of this paper on this question paper, which are the most confusing aspects? apart from the theory questions, because I feel like you're going to be comfortable with the theory. Do you recall a specific question that gave you a problem apart from those that we covered already?
Oh
Cause you
yeah, the list box,
the bottom one
the list box one,
or the list
page 9.
box. Let me see. I skipped it. Which one? This one. This one.
Yeah, question 16.
Oh yeah.
16.
Okay. List box one, and a lot of these things, ne? You'll notice ukuthi once you open up your IDE, once wavula lana mfethu waspanela la, everything becomes much easier because you can test the different components. Yeah, but you can go there, create this list component as it is, and then test out the code.
Yeah.
I feel like if you can do that a
No,
lot, and then
the test you're writing it out. It's not even on a computer, so you can't test anything out.
oh yeah, you're gonna get a question paper like this, right?
Yeah.
But it will help you, having done that practice, having done that work in an IDE in Visual Studio. You'll know what's okay. What the different components, what are their fields, what are their properties, right? For example, how does the list box work? And notice
Oh,
the question 16, it has the selected index, right? Selected index. Now I want you to conceptualize a list as an array. Are you familiar with arrays?
yeah.
So an array is simply a data structure which holds data points in consecutive order. You have one data point, second data point, and so on. And how it works is that you have indices or your index, right? So the index tells you the position of a specific item in your list or in your array, right? And then this is the first item that makes sense, right? This is the first item.
Yeah.
The index of the first item always starts at 0.
Oh, okay. No, that creates a lot of confusion.
Yeah, well, it always starts at 0. The following one is 1, and so on.
I thought it was one
Huh?
from one. I thought it was from one. I think
But
that's why I got the question.
yeah, most people get confused on this point because they think, okay, the first one must be 1. But you forget that you're working with in code, especially in containers or in collections, right? The
Yeah.
first index is always 0,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So let's see question 16. What's the selected index value of list box 1 if the value is ISTN212? What do you think the value is?
It's 4.
It's 4.
So
Let's see.
option B.
We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have option 2, B.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because you can only know this if you tinker around in your IDE and actually coded these things. You must be actually curious. Okay, what's happening? Because
Yeah.
all of these details, yabona sishaye a deep dive la. We went really deep into the details. You don't get this level of detail by just using ChatGPT. And even in your lecture slides or even in your lectures don't teach you how to go into such depth.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Hey, bros against ChatGPT.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Yeah, well. Now, I mean, ChatGPT is cool. You can use it and all that, but not when the thing that you're trying to outsource to ChatGPT is the very thing that you're trying to learn.
Yeah. See,
Yeah, well,
yeah, about to get ready for school, man.
oh yeah.
Like, yeah,
All right, let me get a review, an honest review of the session, and if you
uh,
feel like
20,
you're gonna
20 out
be,
of 10, bro. 20 out
eh?
of 10. 20 out of 10. Sure, thanks so much, man.
Oh yeah, we enjoy.
So,
Oh, I didn't recall. No, it's fine. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I didn't check. That's fine. Um. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Stop recording.